North Carolina, one of the more interesting teams in the ACC this year. Why? Because they brought in Bill Belichick, who is now coaching for the first time in college football, trying to get North Carolina back to their winning ways, kind of. I mean, they've never really been this fantastic program. But anyway, good excitement there. You got to think there's good buy-in from the staff and the donor base to bring in a guy like Bill Belichick and try and turn this into a winner. And he came in and immediately hit the ground running in the transfer portal. They're projected to start 13 transfers. Probably most importantly, Gio Lopez transferred from South Alabama. He's going to start at QB for them. He threw for 2,500 yards last year with 17 touchdowns and 5 picks and ran for 540 yards and 7 TDs. So he's a bit of a dual threat guy. JP, you mentioned him earlier as kind of a guy you're excited to see. So what are your thoughts on Gio Lopez?
I'm really high on Gio. I think he's a really fun player. And I have watched Gio play. One of Abby's brother used to coach for South Alabama. Was an assistant coach, not a coach.
The head coach.
Yeah, was an assistant coach there. And so we'll watch USA games from time to time. We also, one of her best friends goes to South Alabama as well. So I watched Gio Lopez play last year, and I also played against him in the video game. He's good in the video game too. Not that that matters, but I think he's going to be a key piece for North Carolina. North Carolina, for me, I think is going to have a really good season. I think the schedule pans out that way. And for them to even fight how they did last year, to crawl out 6 wins, when in the first game of the season you lose your quarterback for the entire season.
Former
Max
Aggie.
Johnson.
Gig 'em.
And yet they still crawled out a win against Minnesota somehow. Winning Charlotte, North Carolina Central aren't great wins. They get destroyed by JMU, but JMU's good. But even to win a few games down the stretch in Virginia, Florida State, and Wake Forest, I thought showed a lot about the guys in this program. And while there are a lot of transfers this year with Bill Belichick, it's a good base to build off of. He's not coming into a team was downright terrible, even though the season went bad for them. I think Gio's going to play really well for them. I'll be very curious to see how he plays with Bill. Of course, Bill, we've only really seen Tom Brady and Mac Jones. Gio Lopez is not Tom Brady or Mac Jones from a playing style. He may not even be from a talent style.
But that's college football
either.
for you. It's just different game.
So I'm really curious to see how he plays and coaches Gio Lopez, how Gio Lopez plays, not Bill, and how Bill coaches.
I would love to see how Bill plays.
But defensively, I think it's going to be the story of the team, and that is the story of any Bill team.
Sure.
And with the 9 transfers they have, it'll be really interesting to see how they play as a unit. I think that's the unit that leads. They're the engine of this team, I would say.
Yeah.
Is the defense for
Yeah.
me.
I know you have a bit of a different take on this team or different outlook than JP.
Yeah.
And you've laid out their 9 starting transfers on defense, and do you want to at least walk through a couple of them why you're maybe not so high on this team?
Yeah.
Or at least some concerns or worries you have?
I think so. I'm going to start on the D line. The D line, I think, is pretty it's pretty concerning. I'm not going to mince words. They've got 3 guys who they did not start for their teams last year. 2 of them, I will say, came off the bench at Penn State and Florida. So that is something. Those were 2 high talent teams. So that is of benefit to them. But their PFF grades were lower. Smith Vilbert played for Penn State last year, never started, finished with a 64.9 PFF grade. DeAndre Robinson played for Florida last year, finished the season with a 58.9 grade. And then the thing you could convince me could be interesting will be the secondary. So they bring in a guy from East Carolina, who I know JP's very high on, and then
Go
a guy
Pirates.
from Washington, who both finished with good PFF grades, a safety and a cornerback. I will be interested to see what will the secondary look like. But yeah, I'm just not. It's not like they brought in a bunch of high performance guys or a bunch of high talent guys, in my opinion.
Let me push back on that.
Go ahead.
Patriots defenses never had the highly talented guys.
Yeah.
They always had names that made names out of them, that because Bill put them in the spot and coached them the right way, that they became names even though they weren't the big talents. And that's true for really any Patriots player ever. So I don't think that's necessarily a concern that it is. Now, flip it on its head. these kids are as young as his girlfriend. So
Yeah.
who knows
Younger.
I was about to say it's different.
how
when-
it'll play. That you could not combine any 3 guys from this roster, and they would not have more years living on this earth than Bill himself. So
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see how that plays out as well.
Yeah.
But I don't think that is a pushback from a football perspective. If that's the way you're trying to put it, as of, okay, they don't have the talent, I don't think that necessarily matters, and that it hasn't mattered for Bill teams. I think it's more of a, how will he coach them? Can he get out of them the things that he's gotten out of players in his past that didn't necessarily have all the talent, but he got the most out
Sure.
of them? And I think that is the concern more than the talent
Yeah.
itself.
Because it's different, in my opinion. It's different when you're working with 28-year-olds as opposed to 18-year-olds. So I'll be interested to see how that plays
Sure.
out. Can he get that same peak performance out of these younger guys, guys just out of high school, or even the transfers? 22. It's just a different game in college. And I remember my last point, Jack. if you
Well, I
had
was just going to
something.
say, I think it's fair for it to be a worry, while also looking at it the sense of if there's someone, like JP said multiple times, that can find a way to make it work, it is Bill. In my eyes, I think this kind of goes one of two ways, honestly. I think we see that Bill doesn't have it anymore, and this just goes nowhere and flames out pretty fast, or we're pretty quickly in year one going, okay, he's still got it. He has these guys playing good football, even if maybe they don't, win a ton of games, but like they're competing. They're playing sound football. They're not making mistakes. They're making it hard on teams. So I'm very interested to see which way it goes. Any other thoughts?
Yeah. I know, JP, you're talking about how much you like the quarterback, Gio Lopez. Is there a possibility where Max Johnson comes back from injury and then we start to have a discussion about the quarterback? And that'll be dependent on how Gio is playing at the time, I'm sure. But Max Johnson was supposed to be the starter last year, goes down in game 1. What are your thoughts on Max Johnson and his potential return from injury?
No, I think Gio Lopez is going to be the guy all year unless this goes south. I just don't see it as something that Bill would change. I think the biggest thing for them and the Tar Heels this season is just going to be consistency and continuity, and changing the quarterback, I think, would change a large part of that. And you also don't know what you're going to get out of Max Johnson, who has not played since last August. And then whenever he returns, I don't know what the reports are, but there probably isn't any because it's college football and you don't get any of those reports.
Correct.
But it would be a year and potentially a half since he had played, a year and 4 months. Like,
Because he also
you're not-
got hurt during the A&M, his last season at A&M.
Exactly.
So he didn't play a full year then either.
I don't think you're guaranteed for him to have good production. And I think Gio's better than him in general anyway.
Yeah, I don't think it's... I think Max Johnson's a fine QB, but I don't think he's good enough since the fact he's been hurt for a year to really come back and push for that job. Unless something goes south, like you said, and then I don't really think Max Johnson's good enough to fix a situation that's gone south.
Yeah.
Though he probably will get the chance to. Win total? We want to look at the win total?
Is 7.5. I can go first. This schedule, once again, I feel like it's just a dumb layout of a schedule. They start the season with 4 games. They go bye week, Clemson, bye week, 7 straight games. I don't understand the setup. I will say that it does benefit them. They get an extra week of preparation for Clemson and then an extra week of rest afterwards. So you can silver lining that situation and try and isolate that Clemson game to give yourself the best chance of winning. But some other important games, it's actually a pretty easy schedule. Other than that Clemson game, they avoid Miami, they avoid Georgia Tech, they avoid Florida
Louisville
State,
and SMU.
Louisville, SMU. It's a very easy schedule. So other than the way it's laid out, in that their bye weeks are almost wasted because you have to play so many games on the back half of the schedule. But I'm going to go over, I think, even though I am lower on the talent and question Bill Belichick as a college coach, the schedule is a cakewalk.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over 2. I'm gonna just, I guess, trust in Bill. There's a lot of winnable games on this schedule, and I think he's a guy that can get this group playing good enough football to win those games. So I'll take the over.
I'm going over, and I think it's one of the best bets I could give you is going over. I think they've got a chance to go 10-2. and that's just I'm high on Bill. I'm high on he's going to be the best coach on the field in realistically every game except for the Tiger game this year. And I think that'll play a huge factor in the way these games kind of finish out. And then I'm really high on Gio. I think they've got a chance to make the ACC championship because of the schedule, but I think they'll lose 2 or more in the ACC. But give me the over.
Yeah, I like it.